Here's John 13 verses 13 to 17 from the New International Version, NIV. 13 You call me, Teacher and Lord, and rightly so, for that is what I am. 14 Now that I, your Lord and Teacher, have washed your feet, you also should wash one another's feet. 15 I have set you an example that you should do as I have done for you. 16 Very truly I tell you, no servant is greater than his master, nor is a messenger greater than the one who sent him. 17 Now that you know these things, you will be blessed if you do them. Expounding on John 13 verses 13 to 17. In this passage, Jesus speaks to his disciples after washing their feet, a task typically reserved for the lowest of servants. By doing this, Jesus was demonstrating a significant act of humility and service. Verse 13, Jesus acknowledges his position as the disciples' teacher and Lord, emphasizing that he holds authority over them. Verse 14, after washing their feet, Jesus instructs the disciples to wash each other's feet. This was not merely about physical cleansing but about serving others humbly, even when it means taking on the tasks of the lowliest. Verse 15, Jesus sets himself as the example. He didn't just command them to do things, he showed them by his actions. His life was a model of service and sacrifice. Verse 16, here, Jesus underscores the principle of humility. A servant isn't above his master. Since even Jesus, their teacher and Lord, stooped to serve, no disciple should consider any act of service beneath them. Verse 17, knowledge requires application. Jesus tells them that knowing the principle of humble service isn't enough, they'll be blessed when they put it into practice. Parallel verses for further elaboration. Philippians 2 verses 5 to 8, NIV. 5 In your relationships with one another, have the same mindset as Christ Jesus. 6 Who, being in very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be used to his own advantage. 7 Rather, he made himself nothing by taking the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness. 8 And being found in appearance as a man, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to death, even death on a cross. This passage speaks to the humility of Jesus. Even though he was God, he took on the nature of a servant and became obedient to death on the cross. Mark 10 verse 45, NIV. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. Jesus underscores his mission on earth, not to be served, but to serve others and sacrifice his life. 1 Peter 5 verse 5, NIV. In the same way, you who are younger, submit yourselves to your elders. All of you, clothe yourselves with humility toward one another, because God opposes the proud but shows favor to the humble. Peter, who witnessed Jesus washing the disciples' feet, later teaches on the value of humility among believers. These verses, along with the passage from John, emphasize the importance of humility, service, and the model of Jesus in our lives. The call isn't merely to admire Jesus' actions but to emulate them in our relationships with others.